civics class, 4.3, Powers of Congress. Keep up with me. Follow along. Complete the quiz. Let's go. All right, Congressional Powers. So in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, the first 17 clauses list Congress's specific powers. These could be called any one of these next 4 words. Ready? Expressed, delegated, enumerated, exclusive. Basically, it means that any powers given to Congress are listed specifically in the Constitution. Clause 18 is the necessary and proper clause. Another name for this is the elastic clause. That's question 1. Necessary and proper clause, what it really does is it ensures that Congress has implied powers. So let's say that powers aren't stated specifically in the Constitution. Can Congress do certain things? Yes. They can do anything necessary and proper to carry out the law. Okay, so if it's not listed, they can still do it. It's just not listed. Okay. Legislative lawmaking powers, so they have the power to collect taxes. They didn't always have this power, but they do now. They create bills that raise money, so those would be revenue bills, and then they spend the money. So any revenue bill has to start in the House of Representatives because that's the closest thing to the people. Okay? And then it has to be approved by the Senate. That's how it always works. It starts in one house and then it gets approved in the other. Congress spends money by means of a 2-step process. So we have authorization bills, those create projects, and appropriation bills, those actually provide the money to each program. So authorization basically just says, hey, you can do this, and then appropriation bills basically says, now here's the money to do it with. Okay? And those have to start in the House of Representatives. So there's question number 2 for you. Legislative powers, regulating commerce. So the Commerce Clause gives Congress the power to regulate foreign and interstate commerce. So this is question number 3. So interstate commerce is kind of a pretty simple thing to understand. Think about things that cross state lines. Things that everybody pretty much has access to. Those need to be run by or regulated by the federal government. So they make laws dealing with air traffic because airplanes fly over different states. Television because, well, I'm in North Carolina. People are in California probably watching the same thing, right? And air pollution because you really can't stop that. So, the federal government kind of regulates that kind of stuff because, imagine we have a bunch of pig farms here, right? And let's say that we have a river that actually enters into South Carolina, but pig farm waste, hog waste, is actually flowing down the river into South Carolina from North Carolina. Whose problem is that? The federal government's, because it's crossing state lines. Okay, so they have to regulate commerce, and that's how they do it. Okay. Non-legislative powers, so non-law-making powers, so powers not related to making laws. Proposal of constitutional amendments, which needs 2/3 of a vote of both houses. And that's just to propose the constitutional amendment. Not to pass, but to propose. The counting of electoral votes in presidential election, we're about to watch this happen, right? And we're on question 4. So if no one wins the majority of the Electoral College, which would be 270 electoral votes, then it goes to Congress, specifically the House of Representatives. So the House of Representatives would decide the president and the vice president. This will be interesting. What if this happens on November 3rd? Who is in control of the House right now, Democrats or Republicans?
Democrats, because Republican has the,
Democrats have the House,
Republicans have Congress.
Republicans have the Senate. How crazy would that be? Because what would probably happen? Let's say that nobody gets the presidential 270, and then all of a sudden it goes to the House, and that's run by Democrats, meaning the majority of people in that is Democrat leaning at least. It'd be crazy. That would be something very...
It wouldn't be accurate, really.
Well,
Like
the thing
an
is,
accurate
you
opinion.
know why it goes to the House of Representatives?
Because they're both?
Because that is the closest thing that we have. Okay, there's a step for me to get to the federal government, get my voice heard in the federal government, and that's through my representative here, from my district in North Carolina. That's the closest I can get to the federal government. I could email him or her, and they would voice my concern possibly. That's as close as I can get to federal government in my position right now, in your position right now, is our representative. And so that's why it goes to the House of Representatives. It is the closest thing to the people. That's why it's called the House of Representatives, because it represents us. It should, at least. So, that right there, I think, was answered in, was that question 4?
Mm-hmm.
So if a president dies, resigns, or is too ill to serve, Congress settles the matter. All right, let's go to the next. Non-legislative powers continued. Declare war. Now, you might think that the president can declare war, but he actually can't. He can send troops to a certain place through an executive order for about 60 days, and then after that 60 days up, he can apply for another extension of it, or Congress can declare war. We haven't declared war since World War II. Okay? Create, maintain, and oversee an army and navy. That's Congress has that, and then checks and balances. So what it can it can keep the other branches of government in check. That's what checks and balances mean. So president makes treaties with other countries. The Senate must approve them. I think that was question number 5. All right, non-legislative powers continue. So checks and balances continued. The House, by majority vote, may impeach, accuse officials of misconduct. You know that our president, at this moment, has gone through the impeachment process. And then Senate acts as a jury. They need 2/3 of vote to remove from office. Obviously, that couldn't have happened during Trump's administration, because Senate is controlled by the Republicans. So the Senate must approve all presidential appointments. So the president can appoint Supreme Court justices, and that's a lifetime appointment. So the president nominates somebody, and that's happening right now. And then they go through a vetting process, and they stand before Senate, and they ask them tons of questions. And if they answer the questions appropriately, they get approved by the Senate. I think that was question number 6.
But what was number 5? I wasn't paying attention.
Who approves treaties that the president makes with other countries? Senate.
That's what I thought. I'm
And
sorry.
then question 6, I just answered. The House of Representatives approves presidential appointments, and that is obviously not true because the Senate does that. All right, so now on to question number 7. So overseeing government activities. So standing committees review how well the executive branch has put laws into practice. Again, most of the work done by Congress happens in these things called standing committees, or little legislatures. This is where the work is truly done. So standing committees are there for all time. They never leave. Joint committees are temporary. So it couldn't be that. So they also conduct special investigations. They may lead to criminal charges or new laws that deal with the problem. Again, I've told you about a couple of special investigations that they did, right? JFK assassination and steroids in baseball. Those are two special investigations that Congress put on, and that is not a non-lawmaking power. And then limits on power. So what can't Congress do? They cannot suspend the writ of habeas corpus. Now, what is the writ of habeas corpus? It is a court order requiring police to bring a prisoner to court to explain why they are holding the person. You have to be informed of the charges brought against you. You can't just be held in prison for no reason. Okay, that is what the writ of habeas corpus is. You cannot pass bills of attainder. Laws that punish a person without a jury trial. You can't be punished without a jury trial in the United States. And you cannot pass ex post facto laws, laws that make an act a crime after the act has been committed. You can't be charged for something that is now illegal when it wasn't illegal when you did it. You feel me on that? And they cannot interfere with state powers. Congress cannot do that. So, that is it for today. We're closing it out. Hit me with that theme song, and I'll come back to the Zoom.